Good morning. Wow, amazing insights I'm getting this morning. Let me just go with the title and blurb and then share some of these things. The final week and the issues are the paradigm shift in which we find ourselves as a human race has two essential elements: the esoteric and the exoteric. More simply, this refers to the inner and outer worlds. These must and are coming together in a divine marriage that produces the divine child. In each of us, once we attain somewhat of a balance between the masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves, we are able to ascend, each becoming that divine child. Whether this process will complete by 12/21/2012 or not remains to be seen. One thing is certain: we are closer to that attainment, that awakening, than ever before in what we know of as our history. That revelation came to me in the meditation room this morning, and I hadn't quite ever thought of it that way before. That the merging of spirit, energy, life force into the material world, the masculine penetrating the feminine, produces the only begotten Son of God. But the only begotten Son of God is not just Jesus. That's the error of Christianity. It is something that takes place in human experience. And each human that experiences it, that's what the ascension is all about, becomes the only begotten Son of God or daughter of God. It's not really gender related, but we think in terms of gender. The offspring of the visible and the invisible, the external and the internal, sex, if you will, impregnates us with life. And each of us as a human contains those elements, the masculine and the feminine, the spirit and the physical. And the problem that we've had throughout human history, for the most part, is that people focus either on the esoteric or the exoteric, and there's never a balance struck. Well, I'm a Libra, and I came here to look for balance. And I'm a Libra on the cusp of Scorpio. Balance over the emotions and the waters of life, the unconscious, the collective unconscious. As humans, we are, in a sense, the feminine. All of us, regardless of gender. But we've created man's inhumanity to man and experienced it because we did not get the whole picture. These are the issues, folks, we're facing. It's so, so important to know who you are. To realize that you are more than just a flesh and blood human being. It's important to know that. But it's equally important to accept the fact that you are a flesh and blood human being. It's not just an illusion, even though it's mostly empty space, we know. It's not just some figment of our imagination, because it's not permanent, means it's not important. That's not true. It is important. Everything is important. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. There's nothing that's made that hasn't been made by this divine principle of creation. And when God made sentient beings, He graced us with the ability to also create. And we have created, haven't we? Are we proud of our creation? In a sense, we shouldn't be, because look at how horrible it has come. But yet, in another sense, it has been perfect. Perfectly created to produce what we need to fill all things, visible and invisible. I want to talk to you a little bit about the visible world that we've created. And I want to draw your attention to this important thing. I'm going to back up just a step. The esoteric importance is that we recognize that separation is an illusion. That's really, really important. In the exoteric world, the illusion is the financial system or a debt-based economy. That's the illusion, because all of our problems esoterically stem from the fact that we think we are separate. And all of our problems exoterically stem from the fact that we think in order to have wealth, we have to borrow it from somebody else. That we aren't allowed to just create it, even though those that we borrow it from do exactly that, just create it out of nothing. I want to share a couple of quotes with you that I came across yesterday from an article. Well, let me just flip over here. I'm going to actually go off my wall. It's by Justin Walker, and it's called Bankers, Bradburys, Carnage, and Slaughter on the Western Front. A little-known historical fact that will collapse even further the reputation of the City of London. Let me go back to the other page here. It's an excellent article that gave me a lot of perspective, and I'm sure those of you that take time to read it, and I include it in the what do you call it, the blurb for the YouTube, so that people can get it. I already posted it on Facebook yesterday, but you may want to look at this. Here's a quote from Abraham Lincoln, and this is Senate document 23, page 91, 1865. The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credit needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of consumers. The privilege of creating and issuing money is not only the supreme prerogative of government, but it is the government's greatest creative opportunity. By adoption of these principles, the long-felt want for a uniform medium will be satisfied. The taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest, discounts, and exchanges. The financing of all public enterprises, the maintenance of stable government and ordered progress, and the conduct of the Treasury will become matters of practical administration. The people can and will be furnished with a currency as safe as their own government. Money will cease to be the master and become the servant of humanity. Democracy will rise superior to the money power. Now, the response was written in England in the Times of London, also in 1865. Quote, if that mischievous financial policy, which had its origin in the North American Republic, should become indurated down to a fixture, then that government will furnish its own money without cost. It will pay off debts and be without a debt. It will have all the money necessary to carry on its commerce. It will become prosperous beyond precedence in the history of the civilized governments of the world. The brains and the wealth of all countries will go to North America. That government must be destroyed, or it will destroy every monarchy on the globe. This is the exoteric reality of our world, and we're going all the way back to the 19th century, 1865, toward the end, I suppose, of the Civil War, in which Lincoln actually had gone to the bankers to borrow money, but realized the greenbacks were a better solution. Some people advocate a society without money. I believe that eventually we will figure that out, how to do that, but we're not there yet. The thing is, governments which have been corrupted by the money power, by the way, have the responsibility and the power to create its own money out of thin air for the benefit of the people. Because government is something we, the people, have created to serve us. But bankers co-opted the government, international bankers, co-opted the government so that it could serve them instead of us, at our expense for their benefit only. This is the unsustainable reality of our world as we are in the early years of the 21st century now. We're here in 2012, December. This is the watermark that we have been told in our culture by our media, mainstream media and alternative media. This is when the Mayans said that the calendar would end. And there seem to be correlating evidence of other cultures putting this time in the same general area. Now, I'm not going to be one that says that the world is going to be totally different on 12/22/2012 than it was the day before. I'm not going to be so naive as to suggest that that's what's going to happen. It might, but I don't know. And I'm not going to predict it will, because I know how hard it is to change the status quo. I know how difficult it is for anybody to see the picture big enough to be able to integrate the masculine and feminine within his or herself. For a man to recognize the divine feminine within himself. For a woman to recognize the divine masculine. For us to individually come to the realization of how these energies must work within us in order to create that transformative and transformed human being called the divine child, or Homo luminous, the lighted, the truly enlightened one, the true Illuminati, if you will, the ones that see this and are able to create the balance, are able to ascend and rise up in their minds and hearts to become a new humanity. This is exactly where I see us at this point in time. This is where the issues really are in this final week of this countdown to the winter solstice of 2012, or if you live in the southern hemisphere, the summer solstice of 2012. This is where we are. We need a balance between the north and the south hemispheres of our brain, of our life, of our being, just as we need it in our world. We need it inside and out, esoterically and exoterically. If we leave either out, the kingdom of heaven cannot be established on earth, and there cannot be peace, Peace begins by joining these apparent opposites, as it does by joining all apparent opposites. Not by trying to eliminate the dark, but by turning on the lights. Dark has no energy of its own. It is just the absence of light. The feminine cannot create a new life by itself. It needs the masculine. The masculine must penetrate the feminine in order to create a new life. That's just simply the way it is. That's what life shows us. That's what life presents us with. The evidence is all around if we'll look at it. But we each individually, regardless of our sexual orientation, by the way, we each have within us masculine and feminine. And that divine marriage needs to take place in the human heart to create the child of God, the divine child, the son of God, the daughter of God, that is able to transform the external world and bring it into manifestation. That's ascension. That's where we are. That's where we're going. That's how it is. At least it's how I see it at this point in time. I ask you with all my heart to consider the things that I've shared today. They feel really powerful to me, but I don't know how they're going to feel to you. Let me know, please. And thank you once again for listening. Namaste.